one more to go after him. Which now is fun. And I read that fast, like freshman year. I was like, okay. Oh, okay.
And then we had 3 get sick. Not from my classroom, but in the I should be in the clear, right?
You should be. Fingers crossed.
You want to say this?
Yeah, that's all I heard.
Please.
Like, so whenever you guys are ready, it's running. I'll text you when it's done. Yeah, when it's done, that'd be great. Yeah.
Mark, there's a seat right here. Good. I don't remember seeing controversial topics.
But then every 2 days, when I had to that day, I was like,
We are going to start just a few minutes early because our last person came through the door and is seated. So if you would please join me with the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And do we have any adjustments to the agenda?
Yes, we do. Under new business 7, D, appointments, add Tony Erickson Cook, Tacoma Regional High Middle School. Brittany Turner, Ed Tech 1, Special Ed Somerset. Chelsea Ranko Cook, Tacoma Regional High Middle School. Monique Osborne Cook, Tacoma Regional High and Middle School. And Kristen Robinson, a server. And a transfer of Angela Bovier from Cook to at Tacoma Regional Middle School, High School to Cook at Sebastian Valley Elementary School.
Also, before we go very much further, I do have some sad news to report that one of St. Albans representatives, Walter Skip Walsh, passed away in December. And we found out about it today. So our thoughts and prayers go out to his family. Moving on to approval of minutes of the board meeting for November 12th. Do I hear a motion?
Second.
Motion and second on the floor. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all those in favor? Opposed? It passes. This is the time of the agenda where we allow the public to make comments if they have any. We do ask that you keep things generic in nature, and also if you let us know your name and the town that you represent or live in, we'd appreciate it. Anyone would like to address the board? Seeing none, we will move on to administrative communications. I believe they are in our packet.
There you are.
Superintendent.
We had nothing from the board. I'll have my report if you would like.
Yes.
So this kind of goes back to our other meeting that was canceled. So some of the things are a little bit outdated, and actually I can update them. Nancy Hoskins was awarded a grant for batteries for our AEDs again, which is wonderful. She goes out to the Tabitha and Stephen King Foundation for that, and we really appreciate what she does. I also don't know if you guys know we have 117 acres of woods in Newport that are, which is an old woodlot that our students have engaged with and disengaged with over time. But the alternative ed program and our outdoor series of classes has really kind of taken that on and gone out there. And we actually have our own outhouse out there now, so that the students when they go out there, and one of our other teachers, actually, she was a certified septic type person, and she got an actual permit for that. Jeff and his team built it here, and then they took it out there, and the hope is at some point in time, we would have like a yurt or an outdoor classroom where the kids could actually go out there and study for longer periods of time, and then clearly would be ADA compliant, because I had to check that out, and then it also places for them to go do their business. So it's pretty neat that we're actually reclaiming that. And if you want to know more, we can go deeper. It's our it's not connected. Chad knows a little bit about it. It's not connected. It's kind of landlocked, but we do get access to it across the property. We have pretty good relationships with the landowners, and we've actually taken our tractor out there and done some things. And you'll probably hear more about it because we do need to do some thinking about the trees that have fallen over out there in these last few storms. We need to make sure that it's safe for our students to go out there. We did have great grandparents' days. I think that I was at 600 or 300 to 600 people at a couple of different events. Those are wonderful. We're working on trying to create something out at Etna because of their parking and everything that they have going on, but we're still working on that. As far as the auditorium, at some point in time we need to see the wall is in. If you get a chance to look at it, it's one of the nicest walls probably in New England. It kind of goes up in a scissor-like function, and it pushes out on the end, and it's almost as quiet as it was prior to us doing that expansion. So that is in and done, and then the seats are supposedly arriving on the 21st from Hussey, and then that will be another space that we can use. And it's pretty really exciting, and they're also doing some upgrades to the acoustical and the sound system in there because things have changed. Our drill team won their section. I was talking to the colonel the other day. He's working on a credit card to get the kids down to Florida for 3 days. And our section is Maine, New Hampshire, and Vermont. And talking to him, he's really excited about our prospects because we have one of the biggest drill teams of like 150 kids in our area. So we really are a force to be reckoned with when it comes to our JROTC. And then, you know, on a sad note, I was thinking about it today. I have not had a board member pass away. I've sat in this seat. It's really, Skip actually worked for us and for a while, and he really had kids at the heart of what he did and what he was about. And, you know, it was a shock when we were kind of trying to track him down because we knew he had some illnesses. And then when we called the town office today, they were shocked that they hadn't told us. So I would have told you earlier than today had we known that. So that's just a tragic thing. And then our Yvette and Corinna was very sad the other day. And then we also have Riley Wheaton out at Etna Dixmont, who's facing some severe challenges. So some days when we're thinking about the little things and arguing about those, it's really the big things and the people in this community that we have to have our hearts and thoughts on. So that would be my report, unless there was anything from the students that we haven't.
We're really excited for the new auditorium space and that. The Neals are really getting pumped up about that, and the play auditions and stuff that's being held this week and last week, and we're doing 2 in 1, and it's Charlie Brown, and then the other one's something about a shrew. And that's all I got on that one. But I'm really excited about Charlie Brown. That's all I got.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. I would say, as you know, tonight's crazy. We've got 2 basketball games. We've got both on the side. We've got this, and then we also have senior presentations. So it is a crazy place, as always. I know it's a pain to park, but this is what we've designed this place to be busy and have kids and people in it.
And it surely is. Nothing from the board, and let's move right into reports of special committees, budget and finance.
So we met back in December. Just quick rundown on that, if I have a memory here. We reviewed November financials. Everything was on time there. Budget timeline was discussed and was agreed upon to the committee. I will have that schedule sent out to everybody tomorrow. The budget timeline, just for the new members, is where we go through itemized line by line portion of the budget review. This is where we get to really crack into it, really get to understand the numbers we're working with, the people, the resources. So if anybody has any special interests, it's all detailed in those workshops. They happen every week until we're done reviewing everything. So please think about that, and love to have you. The preliminary audit results are back. And I believe we were in discussions of whether having an audit presentation tonight via Zoom, but we opted to push that to February and have it in person, when the auditor could be here for that. Outside of that, I believe our next meeting is next week. And again, I'll have that budget workshop timeline sent out to everybody.
Any questions for budget? Thank you very much. Building.
Building committee last met in November. And then we have another meeting tomorrow night. To summarize, we had the football boosters in, and they were asking what the steps were that they needed to proceed. What we asked them to do was generate information about the infrastructure needed to support the lights and a turnkey price on the lights, as in purchased and installed. And then we'll be discussing how that gets paid for. The Somerset water is turned on and functioning, so it's about 50-50 of our water versus the town water, which should be less corrosive. And then EDS roof and gutter has been extensively redone with FEMA money for some of the replacement and upgrade.
Any questions for building?
Oh, do we have any further information on the furnace room? That wasn't at this meeting, but.
That will be tomorrow night. You're gonna hear about the, what Leisha's come up with from CMP's, proposal, their project of getting the lights here if we upgrade that power, if
Yeah.
and when.
Okay.
And then, yes, we have two proposals, one with the generator and one without the generator, to be discussed tomorrow night, and then probably preliminary discussions on how we want to finance that if we don't get the revolving renovation. That's tomorrow night.
Very good. Moving on to education.
So we had two meetings, one in December and one in January last week. And the one in December, we went over NWEA, the scores, which can be a little bit deceiving, and even to us, like it's the scores that the public see. And we wanted to know more about, after the meeting, how the district uses those scores or those reports. And so in January, they came back and we had a follow-up. And when they came back with those reports, they dig a little bit deeper, and it's not just the RIT score, the growth score that you see. You get to actually see some of the standards that the students are taking, and if you have like a whole cohort of students that were struggling with that standard, they can work together in their grade levels and vertical team meetings and smaller groups and really figure out why that they may be struggling on that one standard. So the teachers and the administrators have the ability to dig deeper into those NWEA scores that we as public and sometimes as parents don't always see all the details on the back end side. So it's good to see those reports. And then back in the fall when we met with middle school, we had the scary number of the chronically absent TISM that was way up, and it's 10 days or more. And so we just asked them to come back and talk to us as a district. And it is getting better since the COVID days. So the really scary number for middle school was back towards COVID side. Those numbers are getting better, but they have implemented a lot of strategies with like, there is a bus at Somerset, or a van, not a bus, a van, that sometimes goes out and picks up kids that are either missed the bus or parents are having a hard time getting them there. They are working on making it fun for kids to come, like they're trying to get them more engaged, parents more engaged, they're reaching out. So there was a lot of strategies that they went over to try to get kids to school more, but the overall feeling was that the attendance is getting better now. And that was pretty much it.
Any questions for education?
Oh, I will say Ray asked a lot of great questions, but he is 100% not holding any of our administrators accountable for the attendance piece of it, but he likes that they are reaching out to those parents, so.
I
And he's
guess
not gonna do
probably the subject of that particular meeting was interesting, very interesting to me, is, and I'll make this short, but they were trying to design things to make kids come to school, which is admirable, and I applaud them for that. But the responsibility to get that kid in school does not lie within you people. It belongs to the parents. And so we need to start looking at how can we get the parents more involved in sending their kids to school. It's the law. These people are working overtime to try to make it more pleasant for the kids. And I guess it's working because the enrollment looks better. But the whole concept that it is the school's responsibility to see you come to school, folks, I don't think that's changed. It belongs to the parent. And I think that's what we need to push on. These people have worked at each building. I think we heard a report from each building, maybe, and they're all doing something.
Yep.
But anyways, I want to stress that this one person here, I think it's the parents, and we need to put some emphasis in that. Thank you.
Anything else? Moving on to policy.
So, policy committee. Well, it was quite a number of weeks ago, and now that I've opened this up and looked at the minutes, I see that we had a conversation about the substance use policy, which was something that we had looked at maybe a couple of years ago. But I'm gonna have to admit, I'm struggling to remember the details about that.
I can help you. So we did bring that one forward for discussion, and it has some more work to do, because what we found out is that the principals work on a substance abuse policy, and then they also work on the vaping policy. And what we've done is we've tried to put, what the variation that I put in front of them was some more restorative types of things for kids that vape, because again, if you push the vaping thing against the attendance thing, and you kick a kid out for 5 days for the first time, 10 days for the second time, that kid's already chronically absent above and beyond everything else that they're dealing with. So we're kind of tweaking that to put those two policies together. So we did have an extensive conversation about that, but it's tabled for right now. It will come back to you, but just a heads up, we're going to take a shot at putting those two policies together so that we're not looking at two different things. We're taking any substance kind of at a look to try to have some students do some restorative things. And by that I mean you've got the quick link, and you've got some of the things that we want them to do to actually reflect on why they're using those substances. So that's where that conversation ended. We're not bringing that forward tonight for that.
No, and I knew that. So presumably we'll be looking at this again this coming meeting.
This month, you're going to be looking at that.
In 2 weeks. Now, what I do remember talking about was, we have 3 policies that we wanted to bring for first read, which were curriculum development and adoption, advertising in schools, and athletic field signage. And I would make a motion that we accept for first read.
Second?
Motion and second on the floor to have all 3
Yep.
policies for first read. Any discussion?
I have a question. With page 1A, Next Generation Science Standards, where can we find the definition of what underlies that? What's included in that term?
What's in the term next gen science, or
Yeah,
what's
like-
actually the material behind that? I can probably get you a link from Lori.
If you could, that'd be
Yep.
amazing.
Yeah, we'll
Thank
get you a
you.
link to what the standards are and what's
Yeah,
probably a description of what that all is.
yeah, 'cause
So-
I think that description is gonna play a big part in whether this goes through or
Yep.
not.
If I could just say real quick, I was kind of interested in our curriculum development. So I went and looked at the existing policy that we have, and it was like a relic. Inherited even from before RSU 19. And so I asked, and Mike brought forward, this is basically, you know, the main school management current version of it. And I did, and like I said, this was quite a few weeks ago, but, you know, this new version of the policy refers to aligning it with state standards. And I just Googled some of the terms that were in here, right into the Department of Education, and they have all kinds of stuff that this policy and this language is referring to.
Yeah, I did the same thing, and I looked up the next generation science standards, and there was so many adoptions on there that I didn't know which one we were going with. I think that needs to be determined before someone's gonna vote on something generic like that.
I agree. I have a question about the wording. Will be sensitive to initiatives such as Common Core and Extra. What's the intent behind being sensitive to initiatives? Like, what's the intent of that wording?
I think that anyone who's interested in this, we should be looking at it very closely before we adopt it. But
I agree.
second reading. But my understanding is this is how you get it on the table.
This is how we do
And
it.
start looking at it very
Absolutely.
closely.
Yep.
And if it, I definitely went and looked at it, and it was so long ago that I'm about where you guys are, but very interested in looking at it much deeper.
Everyone, all the directors have that verbiage and link.
Absolutely.
Any other discussion on this? All those in favor
Now,
for first reading?
For first
I had
read.
made a motion for all three of them.
Yes.
Do you want to talk about the other ones, or do we want?
You can.
Well, I mean, it doesn't matter to me.
Any other questions on that? Any questions on the other two, I guess is what you're saying? Which would be, I think there's just some very basic language in the advertising. Well, the advertising in school is pretty straightforward, and it's athletic field sign it in. So. If you look through those, and make questions.
I'm not hearing any questions, so we'll go back to voting. All those in favor of first reading? Those opposed? Fantastic. Moving on.
And for second reading, I would make a motion that we accept admission of homeless students and immunization of students. And both of those were just updating the policies to meet the most current standards, I believe.
Second?
Motion and second on the floor to approve for second reading. Any discussion on those? Jessica?
The exception to the rule, student will be covered by an IEP. What if the student is not covered by an IEP? Who elect religious or philosophical exemptions prior to September 1st? What happens to pre-K and kindergartners coming in? I've never been in a district to qualify for an exemption past that point.
If you don't have an IEP, you're not, that was in
But
effect.
why should someone have to have an IEP to have a religious exemption?
That's the way they wrote the law.
Then I am not in favor of this.
Any other questions?
When they come into the district, I believe they have a 90 days. If they don't have a plan, they probably have 90 days to figure out a plan for their exemptions.
Right, but it doesn't say that in the policy, so if that's the case, then it does say above that in A, immunizations within 90 days of enrolling, but on the bottom it says the only exception is the IEP. Well, there's a lot of people that don't have an IEP that want a religious exemption, and they should be granted that. They shouldn't be classified because they believe one way or another.
So we don't have the yellow anymore.
Right.
But my understanding is that this language was not in our existing policy. But it is, in fact, state law.
But why should state law only be granted to people prior to 2001 when there's new
Because
people
that's the way
coming
they
in?
wrote the law.
but we don't have to agree to that in
But
our
we do
policy.
have to follow the law.
If I have a 4-year-old coming into this and I want a religious exemption, I should not have to have an IEP for my student to be able to qualify for a religious exemption.
I don't believe there are
That's what this
religious
outlines.
exemptions anymore
There are.
with this one exception.
There is.
Prior to 2021, there aren't. There's no more provision for religious exemption.
Why not? I mean,
I
it's
agree
a
with
hot
you, Jess.
topic
I
right now,
agree,
so I'm
but-
bringing this up
But
because,
that was a state statute that was adopted in 2021.
so if someone doesn't believe in all of these immunizations or standardizing them as it's outlined by medical professional
They cannot
because
be in
of their
public
medical
school.
history or from their beliefs, that we don't allow them to have an education in our district,
In our state.
that's 100%
Medical's
wrong.
different than-
That's wrong,
Medical's different than religious.
but it could be both in the same. But we're outlining that they have to have an IEP in order to have one or the other.
That's just the wording out of the law.
But I don't agree with that. That's my point. I mean, as a district, we can decide what the law is, and then we can adopt additional amendments to that within our district. We do not have to have everything cut and dry. The law could be one thing, and we could put our own exemption in there, or our own classification in there.
And the most basic of policies, we have to follow Maine state law.
I'm aware of that.
That's basic.
I understand that. But
That's what
there's
this
amendments
says.
that can be done to that base, yes,
We
there
cannot
is.
amend against the law.
The
We
law
can
can be
go-
one thing, but we do not have to classify everyone in this
We
specific
That would
way.
be a
can be
violation
more
of the law.
restrictive, but we cannot be more permissive.
Correct.
That's my point. So why are we going one way or another, and why are we not allowing that time to come in for new age students? Because, I mean, if someone could argue the fact and that it's discriminatory,
The 90 days is the whole,
but what happens in 90 days if they don't qualify to what this regulation is?
and they would be excluded from school.
Any other questions or comments? If not, all those in favor? Those opposed? It passes. Transportation, there was no meeting. Negotiation.
We had a quick meeting on December 17. We met with the union for a quick signing of an MOU that was in relation to the law that was being passed for the Maine paid leave with the 1% tax. And the MOU signed was that the district would pay 0.5% and the employee would pay the other 0.5%. And we are going to be starting teacher negotiations February 5.
Any discussion for, any questions for negotiation? Hearing none, we'll move on to Tri-County.
Yeah, we have a meeting this Thursday. I don't believe we met sooner.
Extracurricular, as we,
Dean and I talked about that a couple of times, and Simon, because they have some things that would impact the budget questions, so we will get that together as we go through the budget process. Tuesday night, and we have that meeting, so that, and if you want to be on the ad hoc committee, that's been up and down, and so if we have some new board members, it's basically, we get together and we discuss whatever's happened in the fall, or the spring, or the winter, and then it's open to anybody who wants to. There's no restricted number of people. And community, if you know anybody who wants to be involved, let me know.
okay, new business, none. Staff resignations.
Yes, we have Megan Soden, new school nurse, Coleman Street Middle School, Nikki Merrow, Ed Tech 2, special ed in Somerset, Courtney Arsenal Cook, Coleman Street Regional High Middle School, Angela Greenleaf, server in Coleman Street Regional High Middle School, Daniel Thompson, custodian, Coleman Street Regional High School Middle School, Raven Berube, Ed Tech 1, special ed, Somerset, Annie York, grade 1, Somerset, Alicia Hassel, Ed Tech 2, special ed, Somerset, Debbie Richardson, re-retirement again, CED at Coleman Street Regional High, Melissa Farmer Cook, Coleman Street Regional High Middle School, personal, Anna Robinson Cook, Strass Cook, and she's a retirement as well. I think she's been around for
2-year. There's no action on those, so we'll move on to staff nominations.
Yes, I would nominate Sherry Ryer, speech language pathologist assistant for EDS at 75% of the time, and Comas Regional High School for 25%. Patricia McRae, school nurse from Comas Regional, 3/5, and the Comas Regional High, 2/5. And Tasha Goodrich, grade 1 at Somerset Boutique. Annabelle York's position.
Those do require action.
So moved.
Second?
Any discussion on the motion? All those in favor? Any opposed? Any passed? Moving on to staff appointments.
Yes, we have following appointments: Maureen Cipollo, Ed Tech 1 Special Ed, Comas Regional High; Bob Rowe, van driver; Patricia Irish, Ed Tech 1 at Somerset; Tanya Bowden, Ed Tech 2 at Deergo, PDS program; Tanya Erickson, cook at Comas Regional High Middle School; Brittany Turner, Ed Tech 1 Special Ed, Somerset; Chelsea Ranco at cook, Comas Regional High Middle School; Monique Osborne, cook at Comas Regional High Middle School; Kristen Robertson, server at Comas Regional High Middle School; Randy Royal went from evening custodian back to day custodian at Somerset. Wyatt Rutherford went from evening custodian at the Comas Regional Middle School, High School to evening custodian at Somerset. Dan Roy went from full-time maintenance to part-time maintenance at 20 hours. Michael Holt was the part-time person, maintenance went to full-time maintenance. Amanda Hayden went from van driver to bus driver, and Angie Boubier went from cook at Comas Regional Middle School to cook at Sebastopol Elementary School.
Very good. None of which need any action.
Great.
Is that a net loss, resignation versus appointments? It seems distorted. We got a bunch of vacancies?
We have at least 6 ed tech openings, and we have driver openings, so that it's not a one-for-one.
At this time, is there any future agenda items that you would like brought in front of us? A reminder that you all received an email with the superintendent evaluation link in it. I have had, I believe, 5 that have returned them. Please do so. We will be addressing the superintendent evaluation in the February meeting. Our next meeting date is February 11th. And without further ado, we are adjourned.
I stopped by.
Is our school in 24?
Huh?
For budget, we'll call it. I don't know, I was like, why did I think we got on? It's like, is it the point of a raise more? I mean,
Tell us how we create it's all terrain.
She said we were gonna do that for you.
Love you, baby. Okay.
Well,